Welcome to Easy Learning with Science. Today we are going to do physics. Now we've done the introduction of physics. Today we are going to go into the fundamentals of motion. Now the fundamentals of motion is a broad topic, so I'm going to split it into 4 parts for a better understanding. Part 1, we are going to do types of motion and the concepts of position and distance. Part 2, we are going to do bearing and direction, scalars and vectors, and relative motion. Part 3, we are going to do graphical interpretation of uniform and non-uniform motion. Under that, we are going to do velocity time graph. Then part 4, we are going to be doing uniform circular motion and causes of motion. And under that, we are going to be doing force. So those are the parts we are going to split fundamentals of motion into for a better understanding. Now today we are going to be doing types of motion and the concept of position and distance. Under types of motion and the concept of position and distance, what is motion? You'll be hearing motion in our everyday life. What is motion? As it concerns physics, motion is a change in position of a body in respect to time. Motion involves a change in position of a body with respect to time. Now, what is kinematics? You'll be hearing kinematics. All these are in motion. Kinematics. Now, kinematics is when you study the motion of a body without involving the force that causes that motion. That's what we call kinematics in physics. Now, there are types of motion. Motion has 4 types. Now, we have the random motion, we have the translational motion, we have the rotational motion, and we have the periodic, oscillatory, or vibratory motion. Those are the 4 types of motion. We have the random motion, we have the translational motion, we have the rotational motion, and we have the periodic, oscillatory, or vibratory motion. Now let's go into random motion. Now, what is random motion? As the name implies, random. Now, random motion, this is when objects move irregularly or disorderly with no preferred direction or orientation. Objects are moving disorderly with no preferred direction or orientation. Picture when you put 50 men in a dark room, they cannot see their movements. It's going to be a disorderly kind of movement. They will not move in. They don't know where they are going to. They are going to be confused. So their movement is random. That's what we call random motion. Now, as a result of such random movement, the particles collide with one another. Have you seen? Now, if those 50 men are in that dark room and they are moving, as a result of the random motion, those men may collide with one another. Just picture it in your brains now. They may collide with one another. That's what we call random motion. It's an irregular motion. The motion like this, like this kind of movement is a random motion. No specified direction, no preferred orientation. Now, example of such a motion is Brownian motion. What is Brownian motion? Brownian motion is the irregular motion of particles of various kinds suspended in water, smoke particles suspended in air, or the motion of gas particles. As in, when you suspend particles in water, their movement is Brownian motion. When smoke particles are suspended in air, they don't have a particular direction of movement, as in they don't have where they are moving to particularly, so they collide with one another and they don't have a specified orientation. That is Brownian motion. And gas particles don't have a specified orientation. They move randomly. That is what we call Brownian motion. Now, translational motion. What is translational motion? As the name implies, translate. Now, translational motion, this is when rigid objects move from one point in space to another without rotating. Now, rigid objects are moving from one point to another in space without rotating. Now, picture a football player running from one goal post to the other. He's translating. There's no rotation in his movement. He's moving from a specified direction from one point to another. That is translational motion. And also, when a boy throws a ball up vertically, upward, he's throwing the ball upward. The ball is moving upward in a straight line. That is translational motion. And we also have a book. Like you put a book on an inclined plane, and the book is here and it's sliding down this inclined plane. That is translational motion. A body is moving from one point to another without rotating. That is what we call translational motion. What is rotational motion? Rotational motion, it involves a motion of a body in circle about a center or axis. Now take note, the body is moving in circles and there must be a central point or an axis. Now the body moves around this central point or axis. That's what we call rotational motion. The movement of the body in circles around a central point or axis. An example of rotational motion is the rotation of an electric fan blade. Like your fans in your homes, when they are rotating, they have a central position where the blades are rotating about. That's what we call rotational motion. We also have the rotation of the earth about its axis. The earth is rotating about its axis. There's a particular point where the earth is rotating about. That's what we call rotational motion. That is the axis. Now we have the wheel of a moving car. Your car wheels, that is the tires of your cars, they are rotating about a central point. Like they are connected to a central point where they are rotating about. That's what we call rotational motion. There must be a central point where the body is rotating about. That's what we call rotational motion. Then we have the periodic oscillatory or vibratory motion. Now this is a motion that repeats itself at regular intervals of time. It's a motion that repeats itself at regular intervals of time. So it repeats at regular intervals. The time does not change. Regular intervals, they repeat at regular intervals of time. Now we have example of that kind of motion is the vibration of violin strings. Like when you engage your violin strings, they start vibrating. They vibrate at regular intervals of time. As in the movement is a regular kind of motion. It repeats. That's what we call a periodic oscillatory or vibratory motion. Now the motion of a single pendulum too. That we'll go there. Now when the body is moving, now a body might combine these two types of motion when it is moving. What do I mean? Like now when a cylinder is sliding down an inclined plane, like a cylinder is round, so it's sliding down, it rotates and goes down. Now there's a combination of rotational motion and translational motion. Like it's moving from one point to another and it's also rotating while it's moving. Now we have a combination of two types of motion, that is the rotational motion and the translational motion. Now we have a cyclist. When a cyclist is moving from one point to another, you take a cyclist, is taking you from one place to the other. The cyclist is translating you from one place to the other. The wheels are rotating while he's translating you. So there is a combination of rotational motion and translational motion. So that is it. So those are the types of motion and combinations of motion and definition of the types of motion. Now let's move to the concept of position and distance. Under the concept of position and distance, we'll be doing some calculations on position and distance. Now before I go into position and distance, what is a straight line? You've been hearing straight line. What is a straight line? A straight line is the shortest distance between 2 points. Now the shortest distance from your bed to your door is a straight line. So any distance that is not short is not a straight line. Now to discover the position of an object on a plane, now if you want to discover, like this ball, like you draw a ball on this board, this is a plane surface. You want to determine the position of that ball on that plane surface. There must be a reference point where you are determining the position from. There must be a reference point. Now the reference point is normally the origin. So we have, like, if you want to find the position of this ball on this surface, now you must have your reference point, which is what I call it the origin. And on that reference point, the reference point must have a vertical coordinate, which is called the y coordinate, and the horizontal coordinate, which is called the x coordinate. We must have the y coordinate and we must have the x coordinate. Now the y coordinate is normally called the ordinate, while the x coordinate is called the abscissa. So this is the abscissa and this is the ordinate. So now there must be a reference point. Now the vertical distance from the reference point to where the ball is called the y-coordinate or the ordinate. Then while the horizontal distance from where the ball is, from the origin, which is the reference point, to where the ball is called the x-coordinate, which is called the abscissa. Now, what is the position of this ball on this plane? Now, let's assume that the distance from this origin to where this ball is here is from here to here. Let's assume that from this place to this place is OA, while from here to where this ball is B, that is OB, distance OB. Now, it means that the position of this ball on this surface is that is it. The combination of the horizontal distance and the vertical distance from the reference point to where the object is what gives us the position of that object on the surface. Now, let's do something now. For example, we have this, the origin, from here to here, from here to here. As I said, this is the x coordinate and this is the y coordinate. Now, for example, we have two subjects on this plane. We have two objects on this plane. Now, we have an object here, P. Now, and the distance from the origin to where the object is, the first object, is 4. While the distance, the horizontal distance, now remember this is the vertical distance and this is the horizontal distance. I told you that position is a combination of the horizontal distance from the reference point to where the object is and the vertical distance. Now, this is the vertical distance. Now, let's say we have an horizontal distance also, an horizontal distance of 2 meters. Now, here we have 2 and 4, which is the position of this object. Let's assume we have another object on this same plane. Let's call that object Q. There's another object here on this same plane. It's called Q. And the vertical distance is 6 meters, while the horizontal distance, let's say, is 4. Let's say the horizontal distance now is 4 meters. So the position of this Q is what? 4 and 6, the combination of the horizontal and the vertical distance. Now, these are two objects on a plane surface with two different positions. Now, how do you determine the distance between P and Q? How do you determine this? Let's call it X. How do you determine the distance between P and Q? Now, remember we have P here, we have Q here. With X, we are finding X. Now, from here, you can see that the distance from 4 to 6, which is the vertical distance between P and Q, 4 to 6 is 6 minus 4. While the distance from P to Q horizontally is what? 2 minus 4, is 4 minus 2, which is 4 minus 2. So we have something like this. When you take this out of this place, we have something like this. X, P, Q. We have something like this. This is 4 minus 2. And this is what? 6 minus 4. So we have this. Now we have a right angle triangle here. So now, to find this in a rectangle triangle, we call this the hypotenuse. Depending on where the angle is, we call this the hypotenuse. This is the opposite and the adjacent. Now, to find the longest side of a right angle triangle, which is x, you have the formula is s squared is equals to this side squared, this 4 minus 2 squared, plus the other side squared, that is 6 minus 4 squared. So now you now have x is equals to the square root of 4 minus 2 squared plus 6 minus 4 squared. Now, from here, you know that x is equals to the square root of 4 minus 2 is 2, that is 2 squared, plus 6 minus 4 is also 2 squared. So it means that x is equals to the square root of 4 plus 4, where x is equals to root 8. Now root 8 is the distance between P and Q. So that is it. This is how to go about it. Now from the position you can get the distance by doing these simple calculations here. Now that is how to get position, and that is the concept of position and distance. So thank you for watching this tutorial section. Today we talked on the motion and the types of motion and the concept of position and distance. So to get more videos, remember we are splitting the fundamentals of motion into 4 parts. So today we just did the first part, which is types of motion and the concept of position and distance. So next time we'll do another part, which is the part 2. So join us for more tutorials. Like our Facebook page, Easy Learning with Science. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel, Easy Learning with Science. Thanks for watching today's tutorial. Remember, stay home, stay safe. I remain Eko Sai Moses. Thank you.